My name is David Cox and I'm chairman of the board of directors of the Lincoln Festival, or we should call it the Lincoln and Lincolnshire International Chamber Music Festival. We're in our fourth year now and we've really built up steadily. I mean, people say we're one of the fastest growing festivals in the country. This year we changed our musical director. Graham Oppenheimer had done a great job building the audience, but we moved on. And this year we've got Ashley Wass, who is of course a Lincoln person and an international pianist of growing reputation. And he has put together our programme for the 3 weekends with 30 concerts, obviously in venues here in Lincoln, some very prestigious venues, some very small ones, and out into the county as a whole. And here we are on the Saturday morning of the third and the final weekend, concert number, I forget what, 25 or something like that, here in Edward King House. And it really is going great guns. I mean, Ashley's produced programmes which people are just saying, wonderful to have such variety of music, but because he's such of international repute, he's bringing in artists who are quite frankly phenomenal, and people are saying, you know, we don't get the opportunity to hear artists playing together like this. Very eminent musicians, and he even brought in last Sunday, as everybody knows, Sarah Chang, the great world violinist from the States, came. We had a wonderful concert. But however marvellous that was, we shouldn't get away from the fact that there are great concerts going on, you know, all the time. We're probably going to have 2,500 people passing through the doors in the concerts. And we're seeing lots of new faces here. And I think the proof of the pudding is that there are people saying, oh well, can we get tickets for this, can we get tickets for that? There's huge support for music of this quality in Lincoln, and there are many people helping us, many of whom choose to remain anonymous, but that's often the way that Lincoln and Lincolnshire works. But we're doing really well, and we're planning for 2008 because Ashley's going to be with us for certainly 2 more years, and that's a thrill.
It seemed a nice idea.
Well, it's been probably the most exhausting 3 weeks of my life, but also certainly the most rewarding. I mean, I've been very fortunate in my life so far to have visited many very exciting and exotic countries and to have played in some very famous concert halls, but none of those things have given me nearly as much pleasure or as much of a sense of reward and pride as being involved in the organisation of this festival. And the last 3 weeks really have been absolutely sensational, and I've loved every minute. You know, we've been really thrilled with the audiences here. You know, our aim is to bring intimate music into intimate places, and many of the villages and the towns that we visit during the course of this festival are not used to having classical concerts there. I mean, this may be the only event that they have throughout the course of the years. So they are so enthusiastic and so appreciative, and we have a wonderful series of volunteers and various staff people to help us out to make the artists feel welcome, and it's really such a wonderful atmosphere surrounding the whole event.
Lincoln hasn't seen or heard anything like this for at least 15 years, since the last special run of a steam locomotive pulled into town. This Class 5 locomotive could certainly pull a crowd, even for a fleeting glimpse as it thundered into Lincoln. Organised by the Flying Scotsman Society in association with the British Rail, who are getting there, they certainly got it here and caused a lot of excitement. People waited for hours just to see the Lincolnshire Poacher steam up at Lincoln Central. It was certainly a fun event for the whole family. And for the children, it was a rare chance to experience the romantic age of steam.
One of Lincolnshire's oldest and smallest churches, Waddingworth near Bournemouth, which is no longer in use, is only open to the public 6 days a year, so Lincoln Vision went to have a look.
We know it's mentioned in the Domesday Book. There's a mention there of St Margaret's at Waddingworth, a very small village, but there is a mention entered in the days of, I think, 1089. There's two saints, St Margaret of Antioch, which we believe this is dedicated to, and St Margaret's Day is July the 20th, where we celebrate a feast of paternal feast of St Margaret, where the church is decorated with flowers and so forth. This is an old tradition that carried on for many years, and then sadly when the church closed, ended, and now we've tried to reintroduce it this year with St Margaret's Day. We've been dealing with various aspects of restoring it from a store, as it was with organ parts, through to the church as it is today, and the work is ongoing with various projects that we keep moving forward as funds allow us to do so. The stone in the churchyard here is said to lie in the exact centre, just point north, east, south and west, and when you look at a map of Lincolnshire and cross all points at the furthest marks, it actually crosses over in Waddingworth.
Whilst not wishing to glorify war, First in the Field seek to recreate life as it was experienced and endured by the soldiers of Wellington's army between the years of 1808 to 1814, when engaged against the French in Spain and Portugal. Essentially, they are a living history group, which by concentrating on camp and campaign life, and by seeking to achieve the highest standards of authenticity, aim to educate as well as to entertain.
If you imagine at the time that Wellington was fighting Napoleon in Spain and Portugal, a huge retinue of people followed on behind the army. Sutlers or traders trying to sell their wares to the soldiers. The wives of soldiers and officers, their families, children, a whole ragbag of people would stagger along behind the army in what was collectively termed the baggage train. And amongst that baggage train would be held all the private property of the officers that they'd brought with them on campaign. In those days, officers had to buy all of their own equipment. They had to buy their own uniform, their weapons, their horses, their tentage, and every piece of equipment that they would need for their comfort on campaign. If you were a wealthy person, of course, then you could afford to buy the best equipment, have lots of carts and trucks to carry it with, and have staff to look after you. If you were a poor officer, then often you couldn't afford a horse, you marched with the men, and all your worldly goods were carried in a pack upon your back, just like the ordinary soldiers. But what you see here is a table set for an officer or a member of the gentry who's following the drum at the time of the Napoleonic Wars. And it's set for breakfast, and you can tell that by the type of cutlery and crockery that you see on the table.
It might not have been Milan or Paris, but the catwalk at Lincoln's assembly rooms was certainly teeming with young designer talent. Students on the design course at the College of Art and Design filled the stage with exciting, vibrant and imaginative creations. Though practical dressing was not high on the list of design priorities, the styles showed an eye for the line that is often too restricted in the high street. Waistlines were dropped to the thighs, lifted above to the navel and cut out altogether. Midriffs, back, shoulders and knees were bared, collars were long, broad, short, or not at all. The students let their imagination run wild to create complete pictures. Bold blue, reds and yellows were worn together on the fun beachwear for men. The lingerie was romantic and seductive, but still sexy for the new modern woman. The clothes have been produced by the first and second year students of the BTEC Diploma course in Design at Lincoln Art College. And on the course, the students are taught many of the practical and creative skills needed for the design and production of men, women's, children's clothing, including knitwear and accessories. The Art College Fashion Show is the annual event in the Lincoln fashion scene where there is always something new.